Hey writers, it's Mrs. Lanning and I'm so excited to welcome you back to Writers Workshop. Boys and girls, we are entering an exciting part of our unit. We are actually almost to our celebration. So that means if we're getting ready to celebrate, we've got to prepare our books to start getting ready to publish, right? And I'm so excited to see your box sets and to meet your characters and to see the series that you've written. We all know that your series books, to get them ready to publish, you will need to revise and edit your stories so they are the best possible version of themselves. We want to make them fabulous. I mean, after all, you boys and girls are super writers, and we want to let that shine through your writing. So writers, do you remember how we had a revision party for our first series? Well, today we are going to have a special type of party. We are going to have a punctuation party. Say punctuation, punctuation. That's a really big word. And you might be asking yourself, why punctuation? Why does punctuation deserve a party? Well, it does because punctuation tells you and tells the reader how to read your story, right? Punctuation is those ending marks like a period, a question mark, an exclamation point, and we'll go more into that in just a moment. But what made me think about this was yesterday I was reading aloud the story Harry by the Sea, and that's one where he goes to the seaside and gets covered in seaweed. Well, I was reading it to my nephew and I was kind of tired. So as I read the story, honestly, I was sounding kind of sleepy. I wasn't really using my best reader voice. And when I got to the part where the character Harry gets covered in seaweed, which is kind of scary because he couldn't move his arms, couldn't move his legs, and I just read it and I just said, it's a sea monster. When I got to that part because he was thinking it was a sea monster because all the seaweed was wrapping around him. And I just said, it's a sea monster. And my nephew turned his head back, poked me, and said, you're reading it wrong. It's supposed to sound exciting. It's supposed to be like, it's a sea monster. And he pointed to the exclamation mark on the page and said, see, that means you're supposed to read it with a lot of emotion. And I realized my nephew was reminding me how important punctuation is. I can't read it in my sleepy voice. I have to look at the punctuation because that's going to tell me as a reader how to use my voice. That little exclamation mark makes sure that the reader knows at that part that they need to read with a lot of emotion. So boys and girls, today I wanted to teach you that writers use punctuation. They use those ending marks to give orders to their readers, how the reader should use their voice. One way writers make sure their punctuation is right and giving the right orders is to reread their own story out loud as they're writing. That way, if they want to make sure a certain part needs to have a lot of emotion, they can add an exclamation point. If they want to make a part sound like the character is asking a question, they add a question mark. And if they're just telling something, they'll use a period. So you can get out your magic marker with me in the air and let's practice making these ending marks. So an exclamation point, we go down, add a dot, say exclamation point, exclamation point. And an exclamation point shows a strong emotion. For example, you might say, happy birthday! You're showing a lot of excitement. That's a strong emotion. And so you'd use an exclamation point at the end of happy birthday. Or maybe you're pretending that there is someone dressed up all scary and they come around the corner and they say, boo! That would probably have an exclamation point, right? Because you're using a lot of emotion. And then, you know what? Maybe your character goes, ah, it's something scary. And they shout and they're terrified. And that's a really strong emotion. When they're terrified, they're so scared. And they might also speak with an exclamation point. And if a character is asking something, you'll use a question mark. Maybe your character is asking, what should I do? And you'd use a question mark, and you can make that with your magic marker. Now, if your sentence is just telling something, it's not asking a question, it doesn't have a lot of emotion, it's just telling something, you can just use a period, which is just a dot, and that shows you're just telling something. So we've got exclamation point to show a lot of emotion, we've got a period to show that we're just telling something, and we've got a question mark to show that we are asking something. Now, writers often fix up their punctuation when they revise. Watch me do this work by reading aloud a part of my story, because remember, we're getting our stories ready for publishing. So you're going to want to read your story out loud and see if you want to change some of your punctuation. In this particular story of mine, Sam took his neighbor's poodle named Snowball to the store and he tied her up outside the store. And when he came outside of the store, there were two poodles that looked just alike. He was so confused. So here's the part of my story where Sam wanted to tie Snowball up before going into the store. Snowball's fur was so puffy that Sam couldn't find her collar. "Where, oh, where is your collar?" Sam asked Snowball. Snowball licked Sam's face. "No licking," Sam said. Snowball licked him again. "No licking," Sam shouted. What should I do? Sam asked himself. If he didn't tie Snowball up, she would run away. So that was okay, right? I probably could have read that in an even better voice if I had better punctuation. So maybe with your magic marker, after I finish a sentence, you in the air can show me what punctuation you think I should use. So let's see. Snowball's fur was so puffy that Sam couldn't find her collar. Maybe a period. Where is your collar? That's right, question mark. I heard that word where. Sam asked Snowball. Snowball licked Sam's face. Yep, I think just a period because it's just telling something. No licking. Just a period because the first time he's just saying it. Sam said. Snowball licked him again. No licking. Ooh, he had to yell at that time, and I think he's kind of frustrated, so I'm going to go ahead and say an exclamation point. Sam shouted, What should I do? That's right, a question mark. He's asking one of those questions. What? Sam asked himself. If he didn't tie Snowball up, she would run away. That's concerning, right? He's concerned. A lot of emotion. So we're going to go ahead and use an exclamation point. Great job, writers. What a great start to our punctuation party. So you heard me reread my story out loud and go back and change the punctuation to better match the voice that I want my readers to use. We don't want our readers to use their sleepy voice, and our punctuation can give our reader orders of how we want them to read our story. It gives very clear orders. So writers, today, you are going to get your series ready for publishing, and I know you're going to want to revise your punctuation. So I tell you what, here's a special tip. You might even consider using a different color pencil or pen, or if you're on Seesaw, you might consider using a different color marker tool just for your punctuation, not for the words because we want to be able to read your words clearly. But I tell you what, if you want to go back and change some punctuation and maybe you want to use a fun color like blue or pink or purple or red to show your punctuation, you can go ahead and do that. You can use that colored pen as you revise to change your punctuation to make sure that it tells your readers exactly how to read your story. All right, writers, I can't wait to read your stories. I know you're going to give me great orders by using your punctuation, so I know how to use my voice, so I won't use my sleepy voice. All right, writers, it's your turn. Writers, go write.